There are very many things to be spoken of in this spiritual journey, and I hardly know where to start sometimes. But it seems that what I'm doing is what is sometimes referred to as sweeping or cleaning the island of the Tonal. And I think that would correspond in Christian terms to what people broadly call cleaning up their life once one comes to faith. But it's rather different, um, or subtly different, because cleaning up your life, and I'm sure that other Christians have come across this idea and have made attempts to clean up their life. But cleaning up one's life is really like a works um, issue, bringing oneself into compliance with edicts and commandments and so on and so forth. It's not really a spiritual matter. Sweeping the Tanal is cleaning up one's life, but absolutely rather more, it's a deeper clean, if you like, because what it involves is ensuring that every action is meditated and chosen and considered as a spiritual path, whether it leads to the grave or to glory. Every part of our life must be lived consciously, and we must take responsibility for it. So distractions and indulgences and feelings of sadness or feelings of joy all have to be mediated through this spiritual understanding, through the understanding of power, and used or discarded consciously as they are presented upon one's spiritual path. So again, it's not a preordained set of actions that you can do. It's really a question of taking responsibility, um, using your rationality to the nth degree in every action, acting carefully and consciously in everything. And this is cleaning or sweeping the island of the Tonal. And when this is achieved, and it's a process, it takes a while, because these are not easy things, they're not intuitive. We're not really taught how to live as a warrior. It's a very new thing for me. They don't teach it in school. They don't teach it in the home, really, and they certainly don't teach it in the church. So it's a process, and I suppose it could take forever. But that's what I'm engaged in doing. And so I have to filter my daily experience through this type of a lens, a rational lens. So one thing that I have to be wary of is that my spiritual path is not transformed into a set of actions, because it can't be a set of actions. It can't, any form of a habit or a routine, while it can be very helpful, and I do find those things helpful, they are fraught with danger because they can distract the will from its duty of attention, as it were. So the path continues. I think I'm still on it. I was persuaded to read the Rubaiyat Omar Khayyam this morning, which is a poem that we learned in school, and it's a Sufi mystic's thoughts, apparently. And perhaps some people do know it. I'll just read the first verse or two. Awake, this is in the translation by Edward Fitzgerald, and that's important. Awake, for morning in the bowl of night has flung the stone that puts the stars to flight, and lo, the hunter of the east has caught the Sultan's turret in a noose of light. Dreaming when dawn's left hand was in the sky, I heard a voice within the tavern cry, awake, my little ones, and fill the cup, before life's liquor in its cup be dry. The poem goes on in Fitzgerald's translation to mention both Moses and Jesus, and indeed David in the latter part of the poem, which I found was curious. So I started to look at the translator, and his translation is beautiful, I believe, but scholars will argue that he didn't translate the words of this Sufi mystic very faithfully. He rather put his own spin on it. And, well, of course, that's considered to be very bad behavior on the part of a translator, I suppose, but, good translations do tend to contain a lot of the spirit of the translator. It's a curious thing. And I looked into Edward Fitzgerald's life, and he had apparently, I don't know whether I read it in Wikipedia or one of these, but online, he was a church member who had stopped attending church. He had this spiritual awakening, and his vicar came to try to persuade him to go to church, and he said that he had meditated very deeply upon this matter, and there was no point in pursuing any further discussion. So he's a man after my own heart. I mean, I left the church also. And he was married to a Quaker. His wife was a Quaker. So this is from a Christian background. And I think he's given a Christian spin to this work by a Sufi mystic. I haven't been able to find a reliable literal translation yet. There are various offers on the internet. But I wonder sometimes whether a Sufi mystic, if they form a connection with the Nahwal, with the spirit, with the overarching spirit, which is God, I believe it is God, are they unable then to sip from the cup because they have no understanding of Jesus Christ? I think the Bible would say so, but I'm not sure. One thing that I came to think about was that in the practice of sorcery, the Nahwal, which I believe corresponds to God, even though Don Juan dismisses that because he says no, because God is a thing that's in the world. It's a concept that we have, whereas the Nahwal is composed of everything that we don't have in the world. It can't be spoken of. There are no words for it. And I remembered that there was a matter of not being able to speak the name of God. And it was claimed that this is why the Bible had removed the tetragrammaton, or the editors had removed the tetragrammaton, or the Jews had done this. And there was all this issue about the name of God, and of course it's quite a business among believers today with their Yahweh and Yahuwahs and all the various Yahushua variants that people like to use. But I wonder whether there's some commonality there because of course we address God through Jesus Christ. I think it's quite feasible and reasonable that God would be outside of the realm of language, and so can't be spoken of exactly. I think this does seem to reflect my experience. I don't know whether anybody else has had a similar thought about God. But fortunately, we have the access through Jesus Christ, who is also God, who is God. I don't know. May the Lord be praised. God bless.